A memory is a glass splinter, sharp and unavoidable. To this day, I can still taste the silence of that hall, still feel the cold sweat between my palms. I stood behind the lectern, staring into a fog of uneasy faces. My peers, our parents, aunts and uncles, the teachers in their black robes. It was my graduation day from the University of Nairobi, and even the electric fans couldn't stir the stale air of expectation. I'd been chosen to give the student address, which was already controversial. Some people thought it was a joke that I, the girl with the colourful notebooks, would represent the class. I could hear my cousin Laban snickered somewhere in the crowd. My mother sat rigid, hands clasped, eyes trained on my shoes instead of my face. "I want to speak about data as art," I began, voice wavering, but I pressed on. Not data as numbers on a spreadsheet, but data as a living thing, a language that can be shaped, felt and seen. From the corner of my eye, I noticed Principal Mwangi's brows arching, foreboding. There was a cough, sharp, deliberate from the board chairwoman, Mrs. Patel. My heart pounded. "When I close my eyes, I see," I started, but that was as far as I got. "The time's up, thank you, Miss Wanjiku," Principal Mwangi interrupted, smiling thinly. "Let's proceed." The audience cheered far too quickly, a strange relief passing over their faces. Someone laughed, muffled and unkind. I hesitated, words hanging half-finished in my throat, then stepped down to polite applause. I felt like I'd been dropped through a trapdoor. Later, my family's celebration was a small, tense affair at home in Kasarani. Neon rice, pilau, boiled goat, and a bottle of Fanta waited on our wobbling table. My grandmother eyed my dancing, coloured, geometrical print dress. It was a silent reprimand. "You see now," she muttered to Mama as I brought plates from the kitchen, "all this computer nonsense. Real work is what her sister does, banking is reliable." Laban added, not bothering to lower his voice, "Hi, Data Da Vinci, will you paint our electric bill away?" He and my uncle roared with laughter. I clung to my glass of Fanta, turning the condensation in my hand. My chest burned, not with anger but deep searing grief, as if my soul had been scraped raw. I spent that night outdoors on the apartment rooftop, Nairobi's light pollution staining the sky a dull orange above me. I was tracing patterns, matatus crawling like glowworms along Thika Road, children's voices echoing up from the alleys. There was a vividness to the city even in the dark. I could not sleep. It started that way, nights on the threshold of everything, alone with my sketchbook and laptop, while the city churned with certainty below. My degree had been in computer science, but what burned in me was an urge to make things seen, to distill truths. Not just code, but pictures, stories, portraits made of numbers, pain rendered visible. No one else in Kasarani seemed to think that was useful. My first job interview was with Cargonet, a logistics firm. I wore the one navy skirt Mama had pressed with a hot iron. The HR manager, Mr. Onyango, peered at my resume and frowned. "You want to make art from our cargo statistics?" he asked, incredulous. "Maury, like unravel patterns visually," I tried one last time. "Maybe see loss, waste, or efficiency where we can't." He shook his head, already dismissing me. "We need reports, not artwork." Every interview was the same. It became a soul-grinding loop. Rejection letters, awkward phone calls, the pitying smiles of neighbors, still no job, ick. As I carried groceries up 3 flights of stairs, even the cybercafe in our own block wouldn't hire me. "No customers ask for visualizations," they'd said. When I tried freelance online, most offers wanted low-paying data entry or Excel formatting. Nobody wanted the strange fusion in my portfolio. Mama begged me to learn basic accounting. I did, but my heart wasn't in it. Eventually, I started tutoring neighborhood kids after school, math, programming, and art on outdated PCs. The money stretched into nothing. My father, gone for years, sent only one message on WhatsApp: "Be sensible." I deleted it, then restored it and read it again and again. All I had left was my project, a sprawling, unwieldy collection of scripts, sketches, and dreams. Months melted into 2 years. My world shrank to the rooftop, my laptop, subsidized Safaricom bundles, and my own stubbornness. What kept me going were the things nobody else saw. The way Nairobi's rainfall followed fractal patterns across estates, how Boda Boda routes traced a living, writhing lattice through the suburbs. I started scraping weather data, transport schedules, hospital admissions. Turned them into pixelated murals, naive ashes wind as blue tides, hospital queues as spectral ribbons. In secret, I uploaded them to a website, City Heartbeats. One night in the rainy season, as thunder trembled through our leaking ceiling, an email changed my life. Subject: invitation TEDxNairobi. A Ugandan data scientist had come across my site, shared it with organizers. They wanted me to speak. I didn't believe it, not until a woman with an English accent called, confirming travel money and a modest speaking fee. I wanted to scream, but instead I pressed trembling hands over my mouth, holding the sound in. My mother spat out her tea when I told her, "Tegs like those Americans?" she asked. "It's in Westlands," I told her, unable to hide the giddy nerves. Laban texted, "Is it a computer joke competition?" I rehearsed alone, pacing in a dim corridor outside our flat, trying not to imagine my cousins watching. The day of the talk, I wore a borrowed navy jumpsuit and caught a matatu to the Bougainville Conference Center. Standing in the speaker's lounge, I was convinced I'd faint. When my name was called, my body moved without me. Lights blinded me. The audience, strangers from all over the city, gazed quietly in the dark. I remembered how my words had been cut short at graduation, the laughter I'd pretended not to hear. My hands shook as I clicked through the slides. I showed them my art, hospital corridor patterns morphing into the wings of a dove, crime data layered until it revealed hidden rivers of red across neighborhoods, digital paintings of matatu lines pulsing like veins under Nairobi's skin. "Behind every number is a story," I said, voice cracking. "My work isn't about big data but big empathy." To my shock, people in the crowd cried. Later, one woman in a nurse's uniform hugged me saying, "You made my night shifts feel seen." After the event, word got around. An editor from the Asterisk Nation messaged. Then came a week of feverish emails, invitations to exhibit at Goethe-Institut, to collaborate with NGOs, even a grant from the African Data Science Trust. An American researcher asked for a joint project. Someone printed my matatu piece on a mural in Kilimani, tagging me in photographs. All this happened faster than I could tell my mother. For the first time in my life, my phone buzzed with jobs and interviews instead of only tax reminders and Laban's taunting memes. By the following year, I was a guest at conferences, describing Nairobi in colors and curves instead of just roads and figures. I won a small award in Berlin. The same ridiculous idea that had been treated as a deformity suddenly became valuable, and everywhere I turned, people acted as if they'd known it all along. But back home, everything stayed the same. My grandmother checked every newspaper that came into the house for wedding announcements, not for tech features. Mama never asked about Berlin. My family believed success was money, and money was only banked, never born from pixels or paint. Neighborhood talk had a way of erasing achievements that didn't fit the script. Sometimes it hurt worse than the old struggle, this invisible distance. My family celebrated my cousin Judith's first car with 2 goats and a hired tent. My news of a Goethe-Institut gallery got a nod, then a bowl of maize to shell. That emptiness pressed on my chest, grief polished into clarity. I poured myself into work. City murals, schools, a digital art book for kids to explore Kenya's hidden patterns. People paid, I traveled. Sometimes I spoke in cities where nobody had heard of Laban or the graduation that failed. But every homecoming was awkward. My room was still piled with old textbooks because nobody cared to repaint it for a traveler who visits, not someone reliable. Everything changed one year in August when Nairobi County called. They wanted to invest in a mural, something vibrant and data-driven for City Hall to mark Nairobi's 60th birthday. Not just a canvas tucked away, a full-scale digital projection for the entire city to see, using citizen-generated data. The mayor's assistant told me, "Your work is the first to make Nairobi's soul visible. Let's make history." I went home that weekend out of habit. There was a power cut, so the hum of cheap radios and the sitting room TV was replaced with conversation. Laban was visiting with his wife and newborn. My mother was peeling carrots. The kettle whistled, little ordinary noises. I sat near the kitchen doorway, laptop in my bag, uncertain how to share the news. My grandmother started. "Are you finally settling, getting what you call a real post?" I stared into my mug. "No, but Nairobi County hired me. I'm designing an art installation for City Hall. It'll run for the whole month." "BBC wants to film it." There was silence. Laban snorted, "Will you draw the potholes away?" My mother looked up, uncertain, as if the words didn't fit inside her experience. "It's public, Mama. There'll be a launch." "The mayor will be there. I have an invitation for you." My hands shook, but I passed the printed card across the table, careful not to spill the tea. She took it, turning it over. I watched her lips move through the English letters. My grandmother said nothing, chewing the inside of her cheek. Judith, always kind, squeezed my shoulder. "We'll come." Just don't embarrass yourself again with that graduation art talk, Laban muttered, but his voice was lower now. Inside, old sadness flickered, but there was a bright, irreversible line in me. This time, if my speech was cut, the work would still be there for all to see. The week of the launch, I barely slept. My studio was filled with cables, prototypes, and coffee stains. Each morning, I tested my code, panicking over hardware, over weather, over a million unpredictable details. On the big day, I wore a yellow Ankara dress so I'd recognize myself in the crowd. The invitations had gone out to officials, donors, and, most terrifying, my entire family. I'd even arranged tickets for neighbors from Kasarani. My hands almost failed as I sent a final test from my laptop, wired to a server hidden in a closet at City Hall. At sunset, Nairobi's sky glowed a surreal mauve. City buses inching past, hawkers wrapping up their day, the air sweet with roasted maize and car exhaust. The crowd gathered, a little shy at first, then surging as word spread. My mother walked in holding my grandmother's arm, flanked by my cousins and aunts in their best kitenge prints. My mother's face was blank, almost fragile. Laban trailed behind, phone in hand, as if preparing to film my humiliation. I stood near the small stage, ignoring the press, the mayor's handshake. Someone from BBC asked for a quote, my tongue knotted and I murmured, just watch. Kids wrapped in winter shawls crowded the steps, eyes bright. At precisely 7:00 p.m. we counted down. My voice, shaky into the microphone, announced, Nairobi, look at your heart. Then, on the curved front of City Hall, my mural exploded into being. 20 stories high, data moving in living color. Pulses of blue mapped 1 year of rainfall, uncoiling in patterns that blossomed and retreated. Overlaid, red ribbons traced hospital admissions, morphing into magenta feathers at high points. Colossal gold lines lit up across neighborhoods, muted in Westlands, vibrant in Gicomba, showing every matatu line ever logged like veins in a living map. Each section shimmered and shifted, alive as a heartbeat. People gasped. For a moment there was only silence, then cheers, shouts, laughter, children dancing in the new strange light. Men pointed, women whispered in awe. I found myself crying, breathless, as my own city became unknowable and beautiful before my eyes. My family stood rooted, Judith sobbing, my mother's lips parted. The light strokes flickered in her grey hair, turning it gold for an instant. Even my grandmother's face crumpled, unwilling tears shining in her eyes. Someone called, is that your daughter's work, Mama Wanjiku? And at last my mother nodded, her voice steadier than I had ever heard it. Yes, yes, it's her. For the next half hour, people pressed close, taking photos, asking questions about the colors and the stories. My uncle, gawking, asked, how did you do that? It's like magic. Laban lowered his phone, eyes searching my face. There was, for the first time, awe and grief mingling in him. Later, as I stood in the growing cold, voices buzzing behind me, my mother took my hand and squeezed it until the bones ached. Is it always this beautiful in your head? She whispered. It can be, I said, and for the first time truly believed it. People drifted away, still buzzing, but my family lingered behind, quiet. Judith plucked a strand of datalight from the wall and pretended to braid it into my hair. Even Laban patted my shoulder like a brother lost in wonder. My grandmother took my face in her hands and murmured, you made them listen at last. We drove home through a new Nairobi, walls alive with my city's pulse. In the backseat I closed my eyes, letting the hum of the car, the low talk of family, the weight of love and struggle and redemption swirl together inside me. For years I'd been mocked, my dream dismissed as ridiculous. Even at the moment of celebration, the cracks and grief were still there, a lived-in ache. But as we crossed the city, I understood a profound clarity. Success wasn't their applause but the refusal to let go. In this, I had returned not just to Kasarani but to myself, a data artist painting the story they finally believed.